So, welcome to the new stream. So, there's a couple of things that I wanted to go over with you guys before I really get started on this entire thing, since this will be uploaded as a VOD, so that way you guys can go back and watch it. First things first, I'll be at Anime Weekend Atlanta, and that'll be taking place Thursday, September 20th, all the way until Sunday the 23rd. And I'll be floating around and doing like a meetup thing because I'm not exactly famous. So that's also going to be a thing that I'll be attending and doing. And that's something that I really want to, see a lot of you people there with. No, I'm not a trap. Anyways, so I wanted to go over a couple of things that were pretty concerning. And this is about the EU. I think that it's pretty important that we talk about what Articles 11, 12a, and 13 are, since those are pretty much the important things of the internet. So here on this website, the EFF, or the Electric Frontier Foundation, you can see that they've already kind of put together a couple of things, and this is just on a completely separate page, where they talk about how today Europe lost the internet, now we fight back. So essentially what has happened here is that when they passed Articles 11, 12a, and 13, these were all just proposals at one point by the European Parliament. But now they've become a new reality for people in Europe. So what does all of this actually mean? Well, to be quite frank with you, that just means that there's no more memes. Not for the EU anyways. So let's just go ahead and we'll break this down and we'll see what we can get out of this juicy bit of goodness. So Article 13 here that they've listed is what they call the copyright filters. It says all but the smallest platforms will have to defensively adopt copyright filters that examine everything you post and censor anything judged to be a copyright infringement. So what that means is essentially when you post anything on the internet, if you live in the EU, then essentially you post things on the internet that have a copyright filter on it. So that could be any meme that has copyrighted stuff on it. And usually memes just contain anything. They can contain just videos. They can contain pictures from copyrighted works, usually like anime if you're on the good side of the internet, if you're on the meme side of the internet. But those things are all copyrighted. So here's something that I brought up, and these are the countries that happen to be those 28 member countries of the EU, which they can still fight these. You guys can still fight this stuff. It's Austria and Belgium and things like that. Latvia, where a lot of people that I know live, and especially you guys in the UK, which is especially crazy because, the whole Brexit thing. So you guys still have to deal with that at least until March of next year, but, that does take some time to get over. Now, the other thing is that with those censorship filters, or the copyright filters that are in place, that means that essentially you're not beholden to any of those anymore. The people that you upload those things to, like Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, they're the ones that can actually take down that stuff. And they can penalize you for it. So that leads us to what 12A is. 12A is pretty much when you post things that are like photos or videos of sports matches. I know a lot of you probably aren't really into like all the sports matches, but if you happen to be at like a football game or something like that in the EU, then you pretty much can't post anything. You can't post any special plays. You're not supposed to record any of it, and you can't even take any selfies. And it says right here, only the organizers of sports matches will have the right to publicly post any kind of record of the match. So no posting your selfies or short videos of exciting plays. And it says right here at the very end, you are the audience. Your job is to sit where you're told, passively watch the game, and go home. Why? So these are things that are taking a shape of their own. Things that are slowly just creeping into the society since the internet really doesn't have anything going over there in the EU. And yes, I am deliberately just looking over the chat because it's nothing but trap jokes, and I already know what they are. It's fine. So I'm not gonna look at you calling me a trap all the time. Anyways, if we just skip over here, this is pretty much where we get to everything else. All the freedom of panorama, the user-generated content. But that's if we get right here to Article 11. And this one's kind of a big one because it deals with a lot of fake news. So you can't link to any news article unless you pretty much pay a fee. So if there's a website that you wanted to quote and you needed to use that for your news story, like kind of like how I do. If I need to say something very important and I need you guys to have that information there, I can't use it if I live in the EU. So what it says here is linking to the news using more than one word from the article is prohibited unless you're using a service that bought a license from the news site you want to link to. News sites can charge anything they want for the right to quote them or refuse to sell altogether, effectively giving them the right to choose who can criticize them. Member states are permitted, but not required, to create exceptions and limitations to reduce the harm done by this new right. So it pretty much falls down into if your own member state wants to do that. Any of those countries like the UK or Belgium or Latvia or even Italy, you guys can still control that stuff. It's pretty much up to that if they want to create exceptions or if you think that it's something worth your time. Now, let's dig in a little bit more because there's a lot here. And this deals with the freedom of panorama. So the freedom of panorama means that when you take photos or videos in public spaces, you're probably going to take a picture of somebody that's wearing like a Mickey Mouse shirt, or let's try to be a little bit more realistic here. They're probably wearing a Attack on Titan shirt. People like Attack on Titan, right? So if they're wearing an Attack on Titan shirt out in the open and you happen to be somewhere in the EU, probably near like the Eiffel Tower or something, because you know, weebs like the Eiffel Tower, you can still get sued for that. Even if it comes from stock art and ads on the sides of buses to t-shirts worn by protesters to the buildings that can be claimed by the architects as their copyright. So that means if you happen to take a picture of a building that can be copyrighted by the owner of that building or by the architect, they can legally sue you in the EU. Like, that is insanity because that's the copyright of their work. The same thing goes for the Attack on Titan creators. If they see that that shirt is being used in a photo, then somebody, a representative there in the EU, can say, well, we can go ahead and just claim this picture because it's copyrighted. And they can go ahead and make money off of it. So here's the other thing too. No user-generated content, which this is a really big one. This one is really big because this deals with things that I do and a lot of other YouTubers that are way better than me do. So the user-generated content, there's no exemption for this, which is pretty much fair use. So you're not able to use anything. It says, which would have made the EU states carve out an exception to copyright for using excerpts from works for criticism, review, illustration, caricature, parody. It doesn't matter. You can't use any of those things for fair use purposes because that's just the new law. And it is not very good for just whatever's happening to the internet in general. I don't understand it. I don't think that it's a very good thing, but this is apparently a vote that was passed, and it was something that 400 and I think it was 438 people, I think, probably voted for out of like I think 600 or 700 people that were there. I mean, this thing goes on for a while that tell you a little bit more about like how it came to happen and things like that, but it's honestly it's not that great, but I think that there's still a chance and it's not too late. So, I mean, there's always something that can be fixed and, you know, maybe there's still some hope left. I would like to believe anyways. I don't know much about how we can really fix it, but that's about it. Now, there is some other articles that do tackle this, and unfortunately, I really have to just think about where I want to source all of these things from. So, they have the EU approves controversial copyright directive, including internet link tax and upload filter. Pretty much the things that we just went over. And here it's from The Verge, so we already know about The Verge. The Verge literally couldn't put a computer together because they're so stupid. So in their link here, they pretty much go over everything that I just talked about, like the link tax and the upload filter. And it says here that the final vote was 438 in favor and 226 against. So even with those numbers, this still came to be. It's really weird when you think about this, but they knew that that the outcome would be catastrophic. It's crazy to think about. So it's not just something that really affects just us, but it's something that affects everybody all over the world in some way. Now, there's another article by the BBC, and you can pretty much take it or leave it at this point. And this is why it's important that we look at what is really happening, because the BBC, they already explained this story. This was on the 12th of September, so this was just 5 days ago, where they talked about Google, Facebook, and Twitter face EU fines over extremist posts, because they can claim anything is extremist if they really want to, especially in the EU, where they could literally jail you for just having a different opinion. They wouldn't let in a lot of right-wing supporters into the EU a long time ago. It's fine if you don't really side with one side or the other, but it's just, really bad to have that kind of mentality. But if you live in the EU, this is the bad part. If you live in the EU and you happen to post a meme or something like that, what will happen is you have exactly 1 hour to take that meme down off of the internet completely before you get fined. And that's pretty much written here, because it says, in his annual State of the Union address to the European Parliament, Jean-Claude Juncker said an hour was a decisive time window. So this is something that will take, it'll just be quick. Something that is this scary will be quick, within an hour. And even if you go down a little bit more on this page, you can see like what the scale is and when they talk about it, because they have 10,000 staff members right now on YouTube. So there's 10,000 people working at the YouTube right now that can screen over everything. Of course, they have bots doing most of the work, like, of course, why not? But there's 10,000 people looking at just YouTube. And we already know that Jack over at Twitter, he pretty much has some varying, levels of what he deems to be block worthy or not. And then, of course, Facebook, they're trying to contain a lot of what they can. But does it really even matter in the end? Because essentially now everything becomes YouTube when you're uploading all of these things to the internet if you live in the EU. It even says here in the same article, a spokesperson for YouTube added that the site shared the European Commission's desire to react rapidly to terrorist content and keep violent extremism off our platforms. I just want you to know that they've also eliminated a lot of other content creators. I think recently Mr. NECRO was taken off for just a little while, and then they finally brought him back. And then even if you look at Twitter, they took Alex Jones. I mean, he was just, harmless fun. He's harmless fun. He's just making sure that the frogs weren't turning gay. But, you know, it's things like that that are getting taken off. You know, mindless, simple fun. So, I mean, you really just gotta, you know, pick what you want to watch and hope that it doesn't get taken off of the internet. But this is the reality that we live in, especially when it's something for the European Union. Yeah, the Discord is crazy. I don't tend to look there that often, which, by the way, if you do join the Discord, just know you've been warned. It's bad. So I don't know what to tell you, but that's pretty much the thing that I have about this entire thing, is that it's not good for the EU. I hope that at least if you guys can try to fight this in the EU, I would suggest doing so to your member states and seeing if there is some change that can be done. And hopefully it's not too late. I mean, there's people out there that probably think this is a good idea. Obviously they do, because it got passed some way. But yeah, I don't think that that's really good. So I just think that there should be some change happening. But this is just a short live stream that I wanted to get out instead of making a video about it and, you know, editing and whatnot. Do you know if they're enforcing it actively? So here's the other thing about it that I don't think that was ever mentioned in this, because it is right here in this article too, where net firms had been given 3 months in March to show that they were acting faster to take down radical posts. So they're kind of giving that same time frame. So with this, they're kind of doing the same thing where they're giving outlets about 3 or 4 months until this gets enacted. So you can still post memes and do all the stuff that you're regularly able to do until that 3 or 4 month buffer. And then that's when it pretty much comes up to if they're going to fine you or not, or when memes will start to be illegal in the EU. Yeah. So with here in America, we'll still be able to post memes. I think that somebody somewhere will have an idea to adopt some of these ideas, and it'll make the internet a much shittier place than it already is. But you know, who really knows? I really think that it's something that needs to be discussed a little bit more thoroughly, but you know, who really knows? I just think that it's really shitty that the EU has to go through this. And I just don't know. From my understanding, there's going to be a final vote on it. Yeah, I think that's what everything is supposed to be. Hopefully that doesn't work, because I hear that a lot of all this stuff about the entire vote for the copyright filters is on Theresa May's doorstep, and not so much like everybody, like regular citizens of the EU. So hopefully that's a thing that will get changed beforehand. In 2017, Facebook claimed that 99% of all Islamic State and Al-Qaeda related content was removed before users had flagged it. The social network said that 83% of the remaining content was identified and removed within an hour. But how did it get there in the first place? Really makes you wonder how it even got there if they're actively doing these things. But yeah, I agree. Yeah, Theresa May, I heard, was like the worst thing to happen. So yeah, freedom of speech is going to get trampled all over. It's bad. It's a bad news kind of thing. Who really knows? Just, you got to keep your head up and keep posting memes and make sure you stockpile them all. Because here in the US, we're going to be your memes dealer. We're going to be your closest one. So just let that be a thing. But like I said at the beginning of this video, in case you guys are coming in late, I'll be at Anime Weekend Atlanta. So if you guys are going to be in Atlanta at that anime convention, I will be there. So you guys can like meet me for the first time in person. So that, I think that's about like the only other, oh wait, I have another announcement. So hang on a second, because I actually have to get the links for you. I have to get those juicy links. which are posted in the Discord if you happen to join it. Don't join it because it's bad. It's bad news. I have 2 channels. One of them is a minis channel. It's this one right here. So you can go to the NECRO minis channel where you can subscribe, and there's going to be like mini videos every so often. I actually had some ideas pop into my brain just recently about some mini stuff I want to do, like the update about Jacob Chapman and that whole thing about the Kickstarter. That would be fun to make. And I also have another channel that will have something new, a little refresh, and it is called NECRO Music, where I plan to get a couple of different artists that make future funk and vaporwave and things like that, and I want to get them all together, kind of like how artsy music is and real love music. They have channels that are like 300,000 strong. So those are things that I'm going to start promoting a little bit later on, but those are things that you definitely don't have to feel obligated to sub to. They're just something that is there. You just, just hit the button. It's great. So Nightcore. I'm not making Nightcore music. Oh my God. Nightcore music. So I know that the good old anime man, he absolutely hates Nightcore because he thinks that it's musical theft. And he only says that because one of his best bros, Moe's shop, actually used to make Nightcore-esque music, but now he doesn't because everything is originally made. So who really knows what he's, trying to play out here on the field. But if you guys happen to subscribe to those, then that would be great. That's where, a good chunk of that will be. But Miles probably loves it. Oh, yeah. Miles probably likes that. So I think that's pretty much it for this stream. And of course, you can still message me on Twitter. I'm still spending a lot of time there posting lewds. And then, of course, you can also message me on Discord or on Steam. You can play some games. I don't have that many games to play. Of course, if you're like on Discord, then you can just add me on any of those things that I have linked. And then I think that's like is more shilling that I want to do. I have a Patreon. I think you guys already know that by now. And I don't know. Is there anything else I have to shill? Necro lewds? I don't have any lewds that are not already out there. They're still floating around. You just gotta look in just the right places. You gotta look around in all the right places. So, I think that's it. Maybe? Yeah, I think that's about it. So, if you guys have any other questions, just do that. And of course, oh wait, Otaku, send me the link. We actually do some streams sometimes. I'm, never usually there, and I was like, I might as well do this now. I'm actually on the Pseudo Intellectual podcast sometimes with Unknown Otaku and Plot Progressor B. Those guys are cool. So if you want to see me on there sometimes, it's actually on Unknown Otaku's channel, which I should be able to bring up in a jiffy. Hopefully. Right here. I have it. I have the link. It's right here. There. Perfect. Yeah, you can catch me on Unknown Otaku's channel. So go ahead and subscribe to him. Hit that bell icon. Make sure you hit the bell. Just like you can on here. I mean, sometimes you don't have to. It's fine. But yeah, all the shills. Yeah, I don't shill out that often. But when I do, I actually got an email from High Dive about hey, you want a month free? And I haven't activated it yet. I thought about High Dive at one point in time. If I see them there at Anime Weekend Atlanta, I want to talk to them. Hey, give me all of your schmeckles. I will shill out for you, but only if you're gonna simulcast Symphogear for me. Thanks. Smash the like twice, but yeah, you can't smash the like twice. That's right. Oh, wait, that's right. Everybody is already here. I mean, but you can hit the bell, though. That's what I mean. especially like 9 times. This is why I don't like to meme. So I guess that's it. I think that's all the shilling I can do. So just know that Article 13, 11, and 12A are bad for the EU, and Unknown Otaku and the people I stream with are good. So I will try to bring out another video sometime here really soon. Hopefully not about anything stupid or like the anime man size. I can't. He said that the anime and otaku community are more accepting than the gaming community. I mean, that's a video on its own. So, that's that, I suppose. But nevertheless, I'm going to end it here, guys.